All right, this is from Gina Carano, and we're going to read through all of this. Let me hide all of us so that we can read this and read alone. And we'll do a little zoomification. That's a scientific word. Gina Carano had this to say. This is the part where Kathleen Kennedy demands any YouTubers get censored off of YouTube for sharing and laughing at this hilarious episode. She'll have YouTube disable the thumbs down option because of the ratio she'll receive, and then she'll have her publicist ghouls make sure Variety and Hollywood Reporter run hit pieces about the South Park creators and their families, smearing their names through every useful idiot she has under her thumb who would sell their soul to work for Lucasfilm. She'll activate her online mob to repeat that the South Park creators are bad, bigot, bad, and demand the South Park creators publicly apologize by only using words she approves of. And finally, she'll demand that they subject themselves to a re-education course of 45 people in the particular community Zoom call to sit there and listen of how badly they got their feelings hurt all over a little boop of a South Park episode. But maybe, just maybe, the jig is up. So I'm thinking that Gina is suggesting that she has some insight into how Kathleen Kennedy operates and might respond to this.
Absolutely. That sounds like catharsis.
Wow.
Finally.
Wow. Gina unloading. You got to hop in on something very spicy there. Guys, what do you think? Is Kathleen Kennedy going to go on a crusade to kill South Park?
No, I think they forgot a simple fact. Before all of that, they will make Trey, Parker, and Stone sit in front of 30 people in a Zoom call while they all yell at them because you said something inappropriately in a TV show. You guys remember the Zoom call with Gina Carano?
Well, yeah, they really did want to group up on her.
Well, that's because she's a strong woman. She's literally a strong woman with strong opinions.
Real woman.
So she's not allowed to exist. Nolan, what have you thought about all this South Park stuff?
Well, I gotta say, as someone who had never seen South Park prior to this episode premiering, literally like last night, I could not believe how, because most of what I'd seen about from South Park over the years had been kind of like what the public narrative of what it was. And I was
Nolan, have you been living in Elbonia? How did you survive in the culture without having seen a South Park episode?
I know, right? Maybe I watched too many dang episodes of The Simpsons. Maybe I've been having that in my bloodstream for the past few years.
I can't blame you.
No, it's beautiful. But I gotta say, though, if I was Kathleen Kennedy, I wouldn't even go out of this. I bet what I'm predicting is going to happen is I think she's just going to be about what she's been lately, which is quiet. Because, well, as they say on all the rap albums when they're like, Rapper B has been awfully quiet since this last album dropped. I think that's basically Kathleen Kennedy right now.
Nolan, you took your maiden voyage with South Park in the last 24 hours. What did you think of it?
Oh my gosh, it was so... I cannot believe how creative and clever it was. Because I was expecting it to be a lot professional way of saying dumber, really. Like, I was watching this because I've been seeing it hyped up on the show so much lately. And I was thinking, like, okay, I could check it out. It's just going to be a huge flop. And I honestly did not expect them to go that deep into, like, all the Disney controversies. Because I believe most normies don't know who Kathleen Kennedy even is. So the fact that they pretty much made her the antagonist of this whole special literally shocked me. I'm surprised they didn't go out more after Bob Iger. But I will say, like, this is going to make a huge impact on how people perceive both Disney and Lucasfilm. And I will say, going back to South Park here for a minute, I cannot believe how culturally relevant, and I will say the guys behind it are really geniuses because it's cheap to make. They can make it quick and stay relevant to what's going on to where you're still going to laugh just as hard. I've seen it before where like some cartoons come out, it's like a year afterwards, and it's like nobody's laughing at that anymore. But I gotta say, it was done with a lot of taste. And I do want to take a minute to say also, I am really impressed how they closed the episode, because I was expecting something when they did that, spoiler alert, when they did like that handshake thing at the end. I was expecting one of them was going to backstab the other and it was going to go into like some kind of tacky humor territory. But no, like, I think it was done with a lot of grace to like, hey, these are humans, we need to treat them well. But the reality is she kind of sucks at her job.
Well, they probably are trying to make sure that they can't sue them also because they're They're
True,
dealing with real
true.
people. Yeah. So you got to play it down the middle to some
Had a
degree.
lawsuit. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
But you're still dealing with adults. So setting into that thought process. I mean, I think they did it perfectly, Nolan, and that's a beautiful call out there. I think that the fact that they were able to end it the way that they did in a very civil way means that, you know, there is room to criticize both sides, and there should be, and people who don't allow for that, or to allow for the existence of other ideas, are small-minded. And had they gone the other direction, might not have given us that more adult finish that you appreciated. So I'm
Absolutely.
with you.
I completely agree, and I think our society could learn a lot from that ending. Honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I think they're still wallowing. They don't have any good news to report. I think if they think that they're in a superior position to Marvel, they're delusional right now.
Yes.
That doesn't mean that something can't change in the future, but whatever change that is, it has to be drastic, concrete, and clearly aimed at the fan base that they've let lapse. They need to make an apology. It doesn't have to be a "we're sorry we did this to you." It needs to be a mea culpa in the sense that they're going to give us the type of stories that we want, and they have to do it consistently.
Mhm.
I think that's the only way forward.
I think that Kathleen literally so killed even their second chance with fans after the firing of Gina. It just killed everything Jon Favreau had built and was building. And that he was kind of like, "Save us, Obi-Wan, you're our last hope," and it's gone. So I don't really know. The future looks bleak for Star Wars.
That Star Wars can usurp what Marvel is doing is wrong, in the sense that if Marvel grows a pair and they just go off and get a new Iron Man, just hire a different character, do a different arc, forget about, you know, this.
Careful, Paul. They'll put Mila Kunis in that role.
Well, Mila Kunis would be okay. But my point is that if Disney Marvel just understands how comic books work, where you can have an arc like that, you can have a superhero die, and then the next bunch is okay, they're alive again, we don't care. They've completely forgotten how comic books work. And if they do that and they bring out a different Captain America, they're just, I mean, that will just skyrocket, because I mean, I think our interest would be piqued, wouldn't you say? I mean, if suddenly they decide, oh, we're going to resurrect Iron Man and Captain America, okay. If you don't screw it up, then I'm there.
The new characters certainly aren't working. So
there's certainly none of that. My point is, there's none of that potential in Star Wars.
Can I ask a question, Paul?
Sure.
I agree with you that if they brought those characters back, that would be monumental. But do you think you could find somebody that would do the Iron Man role justice in such a way that you wouldn't be constantly comparing him to Robert Downey Jr.?
Well, I go back to the comics again. Every single artist whose run I read had a different take. Mm-hmm. And the problem is, we don't have a Stan Lee running Marvel Disney, where he'd go, okay, that was the Neil Adams run. Now we're going to do this person. And you're just, wasn't that fun? We killed off Iron Man when the Neil Adams run. I don't think he did Iron Man, but I mean, we just killed, Spider-Man off in the Neil Adams run. But now we're going to have the new Spider-Man, based along the lines of, the Kirby run. I mean, I don't think anyone would care. Everyone's taking this way too seriously. The clue to how to run these is in the actual comics, the way they were, the way that we read them as kids. So that's why. And so you purposely go out and find someone who puts in a different spin on Iron Man, and I don't see a problem with it.
Well, Marvel may be going back to those characters eventually. Who knows how long it will take them? As for Lucasfilm, it looks like
leadership. They need leadership. They need someone who steps up and goes, "Hey, I'm having fun. I hope you're having fun too." So it's very similar to what Zaslav did at the movie theater. He was in front of his crowd. He's not James Gunn. Zaslav is not going to go to Comic-Con and go, "Hey kids, you know, I'm the next Stan Lee." No one is going to do that. But he stood in front of his peers and had just a fantastic speech that talked about the business. He clearly understood the business. It was a fantastic reaction. So, you know, I don't know who's standing up at Disney for each of the franchises and trying to identify themselves as the leader of the franchise. There's no one there. Everyone's running away. They're scurrying for cover.
Listen up, my brothers and sisters. You've been listening to Phils and those with an agenda to destroy your brain cells for far too long. It's time to change your way of doing things. Hold up. TPP is the place to be. Covering the news, so honestly, it's a team that's cool and tried and true. Ahead of the culture curve, they're trying to keep you. Jonas and Pro, they run the show, and they dragged in the bearded culture casino. You got Valiant and Lord and Fourth of Line. Wonderful people, yeah, they're alright. They got weird bringing in people like Floral, but made no mistake with Lorena Creole. Amelia and John, stuttering guitarist. Martin and Tawny and someone called CMS. Fat Steven makes a bunch of all the graphics. Did I mention a partnership with Bending in the comics? Fat Sky is a guy and Doc Matt does the web stuff. There's probably some people I missed. I hope they're not telling you the news. That should be fun with accurate info that's not been spun. You can figure it out as you will see. The TPP is the place to be.